You are listening to Mining Stock Education.
Now, after the drilling we've done, the PEA that we've done has given us a lot more confidence that it's time to move towards that development side and get this company re-rated and set it on a pathway to production. And that's what investors are asking us to do. And if you are our partner to the north at the Eleonore Mine, I would think that that would be a pretty obvious opportunity. We've got the largest resource, highest grade near their mill, and it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out that if they can push more production into their mill, they're better off.
Thanks for tuning in to Mining Stock Education. I'm your host, Bill Powers, and in today's show, we're going to get an update from our sponsor, Fury Gold Mines. I think we've been covering this stock for about 7 years, one of the founding sponsors of this show that allowed me to do this full time. Tim, you weren't the CEO at the time, Ivan Bebic was, but you've been the CEO for, is it 4 years now?
Yes, I'm in my 5th year. I can't believe it.
5th year. Okay, so I'm speaking with Tim Clark, CEO, Brian Atkinson, VP of Exploration. Tim, now when we had you on the show last, we discussed your PEA, Preliminary Economic Assessment at your Eau Claire project. The market liked that. It responded to that press release, and that was the most excitement I've seen in the stock in quite some time, having covered the stock. What was some of the key feedback that you received as the CEO as a result of that study?
Look, I think I've been hearing this for a little bit already, and we already kind of know this, that effectively investors are really focused on production. And when we put out the PEA, it really gave us a pathway to get there. We're not just a exploration company. If you look at exploration companies, we're right on the cusp of moving this into development, and the developers get a different multiple, which goes to same thing for producers. And the Eau Claire, I think, is going to get its day. And the PEA also explained and sort of outlined the real potential, I thought, that a lot of investors hadn't been paying attention to. And so the scenarios that we put out were by design kind of a little directed at our partner to the north at Eleonore, because we put out a standalone, which we build our own mill. And then the hybrid was 2-year toll milling, which increased the value substantially. And then if you go full toll milling, it gets even more profitable. So the profitability of going from standalone to full toll milling is going from like 40% IRR to over 80% IRR. And if you are our partner to the north at the Dhilmar Mine, I would think that that would be a pretty obvious opportunity. And to me, the goal here is to try to create the value at that asset and move it towards production. And when you have a big partner to the north, it really resonates. And I think it resonates with investors that they see this path. And that's what this story has been missing.
When we spoke on the show back in September, you said you had not spoken with the group to the north that owns the Eleonore Mine. Have there been any advancements in that regard?
Yes, we've sat down with them a couple times now, the Dhilmar group, and I think this is something that I've noticed sort of as a holistic story for all of James Bay. If you remember, Newmont was the big player in the area, and they did really nothing. And then they put up the property for sale, the Eleonore Mine, and it took them 2 years to get it through the whole process. And during that time, all the companies in James Bay traded pretty flat to down. And I think the hope was we would get a new buyer in here, like a mid-cap producer, to take over and get things moving again, and get some investment and activity, acquisitions and whatnot. And when this Indonesian group called Dhilmar came in and bought it this spring, I think there was some disappointment because investors may have assumed that they were a private equity. And I heard this and I thought the same thing, that they were a private equity group. They were going to come in and just strip it and leave. After sitting down with them and getting to know them, and I actually have a good friend who works with them, it couldn't be further from the truth. And investors haven't had an opportunity because they're a private group. They're not going to tell you, but in my view, there's a new player in town, and it's going to lift all boats in James Bay. And starting with ours, we've got the largest resource, highest grade near their mill. And it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out that if they can push more production into their mill, they're better off, and so are we. So for me, this is a very strong alignment, and there's a lot of potential, I think, to this broader M&A and operational story for the James Bay for all of us.
And the group is obviously well financed if they're able to spend that in cash to buy that mine.
They're more than well financed. They're a multi-billionaire group. This is all private money, and I can't speak to what their intentions are long term and whatnot. All I'm saying is I'm really encouraged and excited. I think this is going to be what we've been waiting for, and what we were hoping Newmont was going to be, or a new mid-cap quote expert developer or producer. These guys want to be that. They're just going to be private, and that's net. The onus is now on investors to figure out the group and understand and predict what they're going to do, because this is where you have real upside to these stories and movement.
Tim, if I'm recalling the last year correct, you've had drilled on 4 projects, I believe: Eleonore South, Sakami up north at Committee Bay, and then Eau Claire. But are you saying you're transitioning more to being a development company that's going to pursue production somehow, in addition to drilling out all these projects?
Look, our goal is always to take our hand and make the best of it. It's like a poker hand. And you got to pursue Committee Bay. You got to pursue the Chippewa asset, which is the rare earth asset. You got to pursue Sakami. But at the end of the day, our biggest value is Eau Claire, and pivoting now after the drilling we've done, the PEA that we've done has given us a lot more confidence that it's time to move towards that development side and get this company re-rated and set it on a pathway to production. And that's what investors are asking us to do. That makes a lot of sense to me. If you can get to that point, the resource is better than we expected it to be. And so we're going to push forward. We've got 10,000 meters we're trying to put in the ground right now. We'll have 7,000 meters by Christmas. We'll do another 3,000 meters in January. There's going to be a lot of results coming out. We just put out the new maiden resource at Sakami. That's over 800,000 ounces out of nowhere. I mean, that's, we did that for less than $9 an ounce. But at the end of the day, people want to see a producing asset, and not that Sakami can't get there, but there's millions of ounces down at Eau Claire, and high grade, and that's really attractive.
Brian, can you give us the technical update at Eau Claire? Like Tim said, you have a lot of meterage going in the ground. What are the goals with the current program?
Yeah, the current drill program is sort of threefold, right? So we use the PEA as a bit of a gap analysis. We got 875,000 ounces reporting to the PEA mine plan, about 835 ounces recovered. So we just want to bump that up. So right now we're working on, like I said, 3 phases of the conversion program, where we try to get more inferred ounces converted to indicated, so that we can use them in the more advanced pre-feasibility and feasibility studies. And then we're also looking at we identified some high-grade shoots through it. So there's a resource expansion sort of portion of the program. And then there's just an overall sort of improvement in continuity and gap filling sort of. That's where we saw some good potential to link up some stopes, and we're back in the gap zone, which by all intents and purposes, there's PEA stopes in there, there's ounces in there. So we're going to have to rename it anyways. It's pretty exciting time, and just getting that out. So even though it's resource quote unquote drilling, it's all geared towards getting Eau Claire up to that next study stage, the more advanced engineering studies and more advanced economic studies there.
And how quickly can you get to feasibility study?
So right now we've contracted a third party to tell us just that. So we should know by the end of January, and then it'll be all hands on deck, sort of pushing that forward. So just getting that mining and engineering expertise in house and consulting outside of it. So yeah, we'll know better. And our goal is right now to we're advancing it on the environmental and permitting side and the community relations side. We're looking to hire a community liaison officer in the Cree Nation of East Maine. So sort of local based, Fury employees, and we're really building out that. So everything geared right now is towards advancing Eau Claire down the pathway to development.
As Tim referenced, you also had some success at Sakami. That was a project you acquired earlier in the year. I think you acquired Quebec Precious Metals for 4 million Canadian, if I recall. And you got this as one of the projects, you got this project, and now you have 825,000 ounces of gold.
Yeah, and listen, like Tim mentioned $9 an ounce, and that's including the entire acquisition of QPM. So, it's if you just looked at Sakami and broke out the valuation based on that, we'd be well under that. But we figured to throw it all in there, and it's this nice little gem that 6 holes into it. We added a lot of ounces from what we had internally to what we could put out here officially after doing that confirmation expansion drilling. And the thing is wide open. It's shallow. It's open pit. Every drilled intercept that's in there historically and Fury is in that open pit. So there's nothing outside of it. There's no no trailing ends or anything. So we've got a lot of room to expand that resource and shallow parts of the resource. Over half of the resource, if you look at that long section that's in there, is within 175 meters of surface. So there's some easy low-hanging fruit to extend that to depth. And some of our best holes, we had the 59 meters of 1.59 grams per ton gold. That sits at the edge on the deeper portion of that, but at the edge of where the pit shallows out. So there's a lot of room, a lot of good work to go out there and continue to expand that resource.
Tim, when you talked to the Dhilmar Group, did you bring up Sakami in South Eleanore, or was it primarily Eau Claire?
We hadn't put it out yet. So we couldn't really. But look, I mean, Bill, we've talked before about sort of big theoretical stuff and what moves these companies, and the M&A game is really essential, and you have to have a pathway to be bought out and or someone to support your program. The big companies need to help the little companies, the mid-size to help the little ones. And this is aligning up great. And you look at, if you were sitting at Eleonore, what would you do? And you need ounces in that big mill that they've got. And you knew that you had plenty of cash to do it. And you look around the jurisdiction, and it looks to me like a hub and spoke. It looks to me like you got Sakami up to the northwest. You got Sirios to the east. You got Eau Claire to the south. I mean, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to kind of figure out what might be a logical pathway. And now you have a player. And I think that it's a big deal for all these companies, like I said before. And Sakami, I look at Fury, for example, it's like a lot of times in sales and when you're trying to sell something, it's not just the main asset that you're looking at. It's like, well, gee, hey, they've got some $100 million worth of Dolly Varden. Oh, they've got a Sakami asset up to the north. Oh, there's a rare earth play in this. Boy, it starts to look a little juicy. And that's what I've been trying to do and try to create opportunity for us. And sometimes these little things like, producing 800,000 ounces or more up to the north may be sort of a helpful catalyst. That's how I think about it. Is it going to happen? We don't know yet, but we've got good dialogue. And I think I hear really nice things about the people at Eleonore, and they are smart and they've got plenty of money. And then I also look at the broader landscape of the sector. And you look at, for example, Dolly Varden announced a merger with Contango today. That's a big deal because it makes a much more bigger liquid company. For us, for Fury, our shares become a lot more liquid in the next 3 to 4 months. That's a huge deal because I think people discount what we have. And when it becomes more liquid, values should go up and opportunities go up. Interestingly enough, Contango's model is really gold, and they do a lot of toll milling with Kinross. They don't think that I think they'll sit on their laurels. They're going to be an 800 million, 900 million when they sort of merge, but they're going to want to get bigger. And I think all these companies are. So as an investor, a lot of these stocks are still pretty cheap. There's a long way to go, and I think we still have gold behind us, and it's going to be a bull market for some time.
And you are on the board of Dolly Varden, and you'll be on the combined board of the Newco, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I spent an hour in the presentation yesterday. I think it's a very smart deal, and I think they're both going to be doing very well. And Rick, who's the CEO of Katango, has got a lot of experience. He's run a producer before. Sean's going to be president, and I think that combining the companies now is a super good plan.
And you have a lot of Dolly Varden shares because you sold your project, half your percentage to Dolly Varden. So maybe for listeners that don't know that part, could you just bring us through that and what you still own of Dolly Varden?
We were the original group that put the two properties that became Dolly Varden together, and we owned the piece to the north. They owned the piece to the south. We put them together. I believe it was like $40-50 million market cap at the time. And then Dolly ran up to 500 million, and we kept our percentage and got diluted down, but we still own over 11 million shares. It floats between 65 to 75 million for us in equity value. And that's about half of our market cap. And I think people kind of miss that fact that Fury is probably, arguably, one of the best financed juniors end stop in the junior sector. Because of that, we've got another $20 million in the treasury. We've never had a problem raising money, and we've got multiple assets which we've deployed, and we've leveraged them on that property in British Columbia. And Sean has done a fabulous job, and we have a great relationship with that group. And these are the things you want to hear as an investor. You want to hear that everybody's getting along, everybody's doing deals, and that's how wealth gets created. And so we feel like today is a big day for Fury. And I know the Dolly stock's down a little bit, but it's done on short-sighted metrics and the deal. But long term, I think it's going to go up a lot. And I think for Fury, it's going to be a linchpin for us too, because we got another potential acquisition company that could look at us, and that's what you want.
So if we do some back of the napkin math, if we take your market cap, take out the 20 million of cash that you have, subtract again the 65 million of Dolly Varden shares, what number does that bring us to divided by your ounces in the ground?
We get to about $9. What was it, Brian? Is it 19 or not?
Yeah, it's about $19
$19 an ounce. Yeah. Now the group, just to be fair, I think the group typically trades between 45 and 55. And if you look at the takeout targets of the companies that recently taken out, it floats between $75 and $95. So do the math. I think we should be trading a lot higher, and that makes us more enticing. I think a lot of investors made money going into this fall, and they're going to look to sell, tax loss selling, and then redeploy. And they're not going to go back and buy the same ones they just made all the money on. They've run them up. They're going to look for the next opportunity. And I think we're in a really good spot because we've got a lot of news coming. We've had some recent successes. The M&A story gets better for us, and we're well funded and well run company.
Brian, before you go, Committee Bay, you've been working with the Nico Eagle up there in the north. Any update?
Yeah, we put out the drill results the other week there. Obviously not what we were hoping for this year, following up on the 2021 intercept. But what we did hit was a broad zone of alteration and mineralization. Good gold, but lower grade than what we were hoping at, but really good widths, up to 19.5 meters wide, right? So right now we're just kind of digesting that. We're doing some additional assay work. We've got the drill core down in Edmonton, so we're doing some sampling outside of what had been previously sampled in that area. So we're just trying to wrap our heads around it and put through. We're fully financed for another program up there in 2026. So, obviously getting organized to mobilize fuel up there and get after it again. And, it's the luck of the draw sometimes when you only put in 4 holes underneath, a 1.3 million ounce high grade deposit at Three Bluffs there. Statistically it's meaningless, but you always hope that one of those, comes through, right? And so I think there's some work. We extended the resource, but that wasn't what we were looking at. We were looking at a big hit out there, and we're just got some work to do to figure out what's going on out there and wrap our head around the structural regime and that. So yeah, look for more news and a plan for 2026 on that for sure.
Okay. Well, Tim, it's the holiday season, but if you're able to pull off a transactional deal somehow referencing what we've talked about, feel free to come back on the show anytime soon if that happens.
Well, listen, I'm here to put out what could happen. We're at the very least focused on building that mine and getting to production. So I think it's an exciting time for the company, as a lot of these companies are starting to transition that way.
Excellent. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for the update today.